As we approach the halfway point of a summer of uncertainty, one thing that is certain is the inevitability of back to school shopping. Once September rolls around, children across the nation will be returning to school with their backpacks full of their favorite pencils, notebooks, and binders. But before we get there, we have to answer one critical question: how will inflation affect back to school spending? Luckily for you all, we just completed our back to school report and are ready to dive into the survey results. That's right, you are watching Everything We Know About Retail, which is the show where we tell you everything we know about retail. We broadcast live on the internet most Thursdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, but you can watch any of our shows at any time at everythingweknow.show. My name is Ebere Anokute, coming to you live from New York City, and I'm joined today by the illustrious Keisha Virtue, who is coming to
Hello.
us from South Florida. How are you, Keisha?
I'm good. Happy to be here as usual, Ebere.
Lovely, lovely. So Keisha and I both research retail and real estate for JLL, and Keisha just completed a really epic back to school report that we are going to dive into today and go through all of the major findings from. So,
That's right.
without any further ado, let's just get into the first thing that we know about retail. So, Keisha, I wanted to ask you first. Tell me a little bit about the methodology behind the report. Before we get into the results, tell all of us a little bit about what goes into making the report. How many respondents did we get? Where was the survey conducted? Just give us a little bit of background there, if you can.
Absolutely, Barry. First of all, I gotta say, I always love doing our shopper surveys because you find out so many interesting things each time. For the
Sure.
back to school survey, we survey over 1,000 parents. This year was 1,001, with kids between the ages of 5 and 18, so
Yeah.
school years,
Right.
and we ask them online. It's just at least 10 or 10 between 10 and 15 questions depending on the year, but we survey across the US. It's distributed across income groups, across age groups, so we get a really good set of respondents where we can dive in and get into some really good insights.
That's amazing. That sounds really comprehensive. I like
Yeah,
that. So let's dive into those insights, Keisha. Tell me.
absolutely.
I think the question that it's on everyone's mind. Obviously, I know it's on my mind, and I don't even have any kids going to school, right? But inflation, is it going to affect back to school shopping? And if so, how will it affect it, Keisha?
Yes, it absolutely will. Now, we've been seeing inflation climb for some time now, right? With the
Hmm.
CPI up 9.1% over the last 12 months. We can skip to the next slide. We
Okay.
thought it important to include some questions on inflation for the shopper survey. It's the first time we've done it, but we thought
Okay.
we might be able to get some interesting insights, and we were not disappointed.
Okay.
We did find that inflation will be a major factor for parents' shopping decisions. So, for instance, if we look at this chart, 37.9% of parents plan to spend somewhat less than last year,
Hmm.
specifically because of inflation, not because of any other reason. And another 27.2% plan to cut back significantly from last year. Now, the good news is that almost a third, 31.8%, of parents will not change their budgets due to inflation at all.
Okay.
And that kind of helped the overall average budget rise moderately from last year. So it was up 5.4%, which incidentally is lower than the inflation number, but still it's nominally a little bit higher than last year. And that's because those parents are higher earners and are actually planning to spend more. So there was some compensatory impact there.
Absolutely. Something that we talked about, I think the other day, just with in our team, was the fact that because of inflation rising so much, we saw consumer spending increase last month as well, but
Mhm.
that had more to do with the rising cost of the goods versus the actual spending more on more things. So, do you think
Quite
something like
so.
that's going to happen with back to school as well?
I think so. I think there are a couple factors for June's results because remember, even though inflation was climbing in May, we saw a
Hmm.
dip, a real pullback in numbers. I think
Right.
some of what we saw in June was related to back to school because our survey did find that like a quarter of parents would have started shopping in June.
Okay.
And doing some higher ticket purchases like electronics, which we did see go up. So I thought that was
Right.
really interesting how that kind of aligned. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think higher prices are at least part of the reason why those numbers are going up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so tell me more. Is there a specific way that these parents are looking to save money while they shop, or what did the survey reveal about that?
Definitely. If we take a look at the next chart, um, we see that deal hunting, well, it's always been a really big theme for back to school shopping because, I mean, we're really just about checklists here. Just check the list, try to spend as little as you can, get the
Uh-huh.
best deals you can. But really, this year, it's definitely a major factor. Almost 60% of parents plan to shop, look specifically for sales, deals, coupons, anything to save money. But that's not all they're doing, eBay,
Really?
because inflation. Yeah, because I mean basically inflation means you're going to spend the same amount and you're going to get less, right? So what parents are doing, a lot of parents, at least half of parents, plan to buy fewer products, focusing only on necessities, so none of that extra, discretionary stuff. They're just going to really stick to
Hmm.
the basics here.
Right.
um, Another 32.7% plan to reuse existing school products. And I can tell you, I definitely fall in this category. I'm
Uh-huh.
going through all my daughter's things, like her school bag, her lunch bag, her pencil case. I'm like, yeah, yeah, we're going to reuse these. These are nothing wrong with them. We're not going to buy extras.
Of course.
Um, and another interesting trend is that some parents are planning to buy used products rather than new products where they can.
Mhm.
We've seen this push towards secondhand stores over the past couple of years, right? With
Sure.
people buying, secondhand fashion, that sort of thing. It's been very, very trendy. And I think it's pretty fascinating that we're seeing it pop up here. And it's definitely the younger generation driving it. So Gen Z is the one really pushing this used versus new products. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I love that too from an environmental perspective, right?
Yeah,
I'm someone
exactly.
who definitely supports secondhand stores and places like that. If I can find something that I want there, then I'm definitely going to go there for the lower price and also the lessened impact on the environment. So that's
Correct.
definitely encouraging for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm curious, just as we talk about this, have you heard anecdotally from any of your friends that are parents or any associates or people that that have kids as well? Do you think that they reflect some of these results that we're seeing in the survey, or have you heard different things anecdotally?
I would say most are just looking for the sales, the deals.
Hmm.
Definitely focusing more on necessities. I mean, those are really the overarching trends. And if we look at the numbers, we're seeing that it's not just one method they're using to save money. They're going to be going across the different, ways. So it's people who
Uh,
are looking for sales, they're also probably going to be buying fewer products, and they're probably going to reuse what they can as well. So it's really a combination.
right, right. And now here's my question, Keisha, because when it was Black Friday, I feel like the sales weren't sailing. Okay, is it just me? I feel like the sales were not really hitting like they did in Black Friday's past. So, would you say that from what you've seen, the sales this year when it comes to back to school, are they measuring up, or are these retailers not doing what they need to do?
That's a really good question. I actually haven't even started shopping in earnest. I've only done uniforms because
Okay,
uniforms, I just try to get that. But I'm waiting for my Florida tax holiday, man. So
okay, okay.
I think it's not uniform across the U.S. So it's only
Right.
some states that do it. But I'm definitely waiting. I mean, why not save the extra couple dollars, right?
I mean,
So
absolutely. Listen,
yeah.
that's how you
But
do it.
I know for sure that I will be heading to places where sales take place. So it's going to be Target for me, one
Mm,
stop as much as possible. Just get everything there, check off my list, and move on. And I think
right.
Target, generally speaking, has really good sales, deals, just prices in general. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Big fan of Target myself. And
mhm.
as we're talking about shopping channels, I think that brings us to the second thing that we know about retail. So again, from the report, Keisha, tell us when it comes to shopping channels and where people are going for these back to school products. Did you notice any differences in the report from this year versus last year?
Absolutely. We've been running this survey for several years now, and
Hmm.
I've really seen, particularly in the last 3 or so years, I've seen a growing trend to parents shopping across channels. If we take a look at the next chart,
Sure.
we take a gander here. We see 2020, 2021, and 2022. Those bars just keep heading up, which means what we do with a lot of these questions that we ask is we allow parents to kind of answer all, just select, basically select all the the question responses that apply
Right.
to them. So
Okay.
they can select more than one, two, three, whatever.
Got
And
it.
we're seeing they're shopping across more channels. So if kind of break down this chart a little bit, they're ordering online, but
Okay.
they're also going into shopping centers. It's not mutually exclusive here. And maybe they're doing a whole curbside pickup or in-store pickup here and there as well. So what stood out for this particular year, we see this huge surge in ordering online and delivery to home.
Yeah.
It's like up 14 percentage points, which is quite new if we're looking at the trends. So that's very interesting. But
Definitely.
also, curbside and BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store, are also rising significantly from last year.
Definitely. Are you a proponent of curbside? Is that something that you use ever?
I use it for typically for restaurants, and that's I don't.
Ah,
I
okay.
mean, I I like to go in. I'm but like particularly because again, it's just my chance to really be. I'm back in South Florida. I get to really see
Hmm.
retail and experience retail more than in past years.
Right.
So I want to old school shop. I want to go
Right.
in. I want to look at stuff. I want to pick up what I need, put it in one bag, and get out. So yeah, I definitely like to see what I'm shopping, specifically when I have a list and I just want to check that list. And
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. For myself, I think about grocery and how much
yeah,
grocery delivery has exploded over the past couple of years, and that wave missed me entirely. I don't know what it is about that, but I need to go to the store and pick up my things for myself. Call me biased to physical real estate, right? But I want to go into the store and see these things and experience it for myself if I'm going to spend my hard-earned money on it. So that it's a little bit different from the results of the survey. I'm sure parents are definitely focusing on convenience, right? I'm sure that's the most
yeah,
important
and
thing for them.
yeah, we did find, of course, that Amazon figured pretty largely as usual for back to school shopping. They were
Right.
number three, but they definitely went up in the ranks. So
Okay.
yeah, people just want to kind of check off their list and just do it on Amazon and get their stuff. But I've
Right.
done Amazon back to school shopping. It's not perfect because what you do when you have a school, they give you a list and sometimes it's super specific. So
Mm,
last year, for instance, the school told me to get like a specific size pencil case. It had to be square, like cubed or whatever, and it had to be a certain
really?
measurement. I'm like, okay, well, that's not super easy to find, right? So when they get really specific with brand names and that sort of thing, sometimes you can get it on Amazon. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
just easier to find it in a store. So, I'm just gonna go to Target and
Yeah,
try my luck there before I
that's
start
so
shopping online.
interesting that there would be
Yeah.
a specific. I imagine if it fits the pencils, that's all that we need to concern ourselves with.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah, that's interesting. I
very
mean, but
different times from when we grew up, I think.
very different. Yeah, the pencil case was definitely not on the list when I was
Right,
in
thank
school.
you. Yeah, if
It
your
was
parents
not a
wanted to get you.
consideration. That was like the thing that was like the flex. It was like, look at my
Mhm.
really cool pencil case.
Right,
That was
exactly. Thank you.
an added thing. Yeah. So
Yeah,
very interesting to see how times have changed. But
yeah,
even as you're talking, you're saying Amazon was the third most popular option. Is that what you said? So
yeah.
what were some of the more popular options? Can you tell us?
Walmart just keeps trouncing it every year. Every year they're
Okay.
number one. This is like the 7th or 8th year they've been number one.
Really?
So
Wow.
I don't see that changing. Target number two.
Got it.
And a lot of people tend to shop at both Walmart and Target. I mean, I guess whatever they can't get at one, they'll get at the other. But yeah,
Right. Right.
so it's usually those two. And then Amazon is number three.
That's cool. And is that's for delivery, or is that for overall, like
Just
where they plan to spend?
overall. Yeah.
Right. Got it.
When we ask them for their top three, shopping destinations, this is what they tell us.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool.
Mhm.
I mean, we were just speaking a little bit about the differences between when we were going to elementary school and had these lists versus nowadays. So that is a perfect segue into the third thing we're going to discuss today, which is generational differences. So tell me, were there any differences, Keisha, in how parents of different age groups were shopping? Did you notice anything there?
Oh, yes. And
Absolutely.
I always love looking at generational differences. To me, it's like it's always so nuanced and you always find some interesting nuggets here and there.
Hmm.
So, looking at the younger generation, Gen Z, those young parents in their 20s, they're planning to spend less, probably because they're earning less at that particular stage. They're
Hmm.
visiting more retailers. They're not just going to one or maybe even two stores. They're buying used. Again, that's cropping up. They're buying used rather than new, and they're
Right.
shopping at a mall or using MOPIS, buy online, pick up in store. They're also heading more than other generations to dollar stores and to office supply stores. So
Okay.
that's kind of their vibe. Dollar stores, office supply stores. Millennials, on the other hand, they're going to start earlier. They're big on ordering online. I don't think that's a surprise for anybody.
Hmm.
But that's both for delivery and for curbside pickup.
Okay.
And they plan to buy fewer products, I mean, relatively speaking, than other generations. Gen X, which is my gen, you Gen X, they'll largely start shopping in August. Probably they're waiting on those tax holidays too. They're going to reuse existing products where they can. Again, it's a trend, and they're shopping at mass merchandisers. Now, of course, everybody's shopping at mass merchandisers, but Gen X a little bit more, relatively speaking, than other generations.
Right.
And Boomers will shop more at open air centers. They'll look for sales. They'll also go to dollar stores along with Gen Z, and they'll also go to department stores. They're much more likely to go to department stores than other generations. And really, boomers really just want a well-stocked store. And I gotta agree, there's nothing more frustrating than having your list for school and it's like, very specific crayons, right? That you have to
Mhm.
get. And it's out of stock because it's been sold out, and that's happened to me before, and it's really irritating because you just
Yeah.
want to get the list checked. So
Yeah. I can imagine that is
do that kind of
super
curious.
irritating. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. I mean, I have to say I'm a little bit surprised to even hear about boomers when it comes to this because I wouldn't think that many of them have like school age children, you know? So I wonder
uh,
what is, like did that come up to you at all in the results? Like was that
we
surprising to you?
no, it isn't because we see it every year, and that just
Okay.
means that you're older parents. I mean, maybe second families. You don't really know.
Right.
Right.
Or
We're
shopping
in
for
your yeah,
grandchildren. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So
Naturally. Very interesting. Yeah. No, I mean, I love that we see those differences, by generation because I definitely notice for myself and I think for some of my peers, the way we shop is completely different from my parents and even some of my younger cousins and stuff like that. But yeah, actually, I will say my mom has gotten a lot more handy when it comes to like ordering stuff online. She's definitely
yeah.
adopted that sort of stuff. Yeah, definitely. It's like she's very, very tech savvy. But it's funny, just something that to me is sort of second nature that I've grown up doing. Like I've definitely
Mhm.
watched her become more, I guess, what is it, tactile or handy when it comes to doing that sort of stuff. So
Nice.
yeah, very interesting to notice all these differences. But yeah, I see millennials like to order online for
Hmm.
delivery, and
Hmm.
I mean, I do order some stuff online myself, but like I said, when it comes to certain things, I need to go to the store. I need to
Yeah.
see it for myself.
Gotta see it. I'm gonna touch it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I saw someone making a joke about how when you order on some of these grocery delivery apps or something, yeah, I won't name any, but they don't care about your mango. Like they don't know. They're not
No.
going to feel
Mm.
everyone to make sure that it's the right one. They're just going to grab the first one that they see. So I don't know if that's
Yeah.
skepticism or what, but yeah.
It really isn't. I've done the whole online grocery thing, and
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you, I've learned my lessons. I write like essays about if they're
Oh,
getting product produce from me. It's very specific, like this. Don't choose this.
uh-huh.
I'm sure they love me, but I tried to do well.
And you're a lovely writer, Keisha, so I'm sure they actually appreciate the essays that you're writing for them in the app because I'm sure they're beautifully written and they were like, wow, this lady's giving me a lot of instruction, but I like how she said this. I'm gonna
Yes,
follow it.
please, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Keisha, tell me, are there any other tell me about the survey. Was there any other maybe data point or finding? Was there one thing that stood out to you as like, wow, I really wasn't expecting to see this, or was most of it more or less par for the course?
Some of it is always pretty similar. I mean, again, we were talking about the top retailers. Those really don't change much. I will say, I think the office supply stores kind of fell in the rankings. They're always top 10, but they fell
Mm,
down a little bit. Whereas Old Navy, I think they got number four, which is
mm,
pretty. They've moved up some, so that's pretty big. I would say the difference between really high income shoppers versus the lower income shoppers it's always something every year, but we found that, for instance, lower income shoppers one store. Just give me one store. Let me get as much as I
Right.
can and get out. Whereas high income, like 150,000 and more household income per year, they're willing to go to four or more retailers. They're probably shopping a lot of fashions and, maybe the department store and also maybe, I don't know, a mass merchandiser or something
Right.
to get kind of check their list and maybe get a bunch of discretionary stuff as well. They're probably more likely to buy electronics or, home office products. We definitely found that to be the case as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, and they're actually interestingly shopping earlier. So
Hmm.
they're buying those high ticket, items earlier on in the process. Those high income shoppers, like again, computers, desks, whatever.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely fascinating. And I don't know why, but even as we're talking, I was sort of thinking about back to school in the context of supplies, and I've totally forgot about clothes and then the fashions. These kids need to get back to some of the clothes and getting these looks off that they were doing pre-pandemic and stuff. So I'm not
exactly.
surprised to hear that Old Navy is one of the top retailers.
Yeah, I dropped into Old Navy to kind of check it out for myself, and
Okay.
yeah, things are looking good there, man. I'm like, okay, maybe I should stop and get a couple of things for Kylie, but
Right.
she wears uniforms, so it's not like a fashion
Mm,
thing for her school.
fair,
But
fair.
just generally, the prices are great. They're definitely, making sure they keep those parents with budgets under consideration. So I think that's great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I
Hmm.
mean, okay, so then I have to ask, is there one? We know we have the checklist of the things the school says that she needs, and then we know
Hmm.
that she wears uniforms, so we
Hmm.
that's covered. Is there one request that Kylie has made for a back to school item that is, outlandish? Or I know she has an affinity for unicorns. Did unicorns pop up anywhere this season?
Well, unicorns have been mostly replaced by mermaids, and I don't know about a whole lot of
Oh,
mermaids,
she
but
is
she,
dynamic. I'll tell her that.
she's great. Yeah. So, yeah, just keeping it with the fantasy creatures, I guess.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but one thing she did request when we went to the uniform store was a really sparkly bow, which cost way more than I'm willing to admit, and that was her that was her discretionary item. That was like,
Okay.
okay, that's it.
That's lovely. Listen, she better wear
Yeah,
that bow every day. That's what I'll say.
every day, Ebere. I'm telling don't lose it. Mm-mm.
Yeah, better not. That's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think this is a really, really timely and amazing report. Obviously, you put it out every single year, and you're our survey wizard. So, really well done, Keisha. And we obviously
Thanks.
appreciate all of the insights, and we can't wait to read the full report. When it's released, I believe today, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's released
Yep.
today.
Yeah.
I have a
You guys are
question for
getting.
you though, Eberry.
Oh, please go
We're
ahead.
talking about like, school products and must-haves. Was there something you had to have when you were, in school, like this one item, uh,
That's a
you
great
know,
question.
yeah.
Mm, I don't know how much you believe in like zodiac stuff, Keisha, but
Uh-huh.
I'm a Virgo, which they say
Oh.
means that you're very particular and precise, which isn't always the case, but I do when I look back on my life, I see places where that popped up, and I think the one thing that I needed in my life was dividers
Oh, you mean like for trapper
in my
keepers?
binder.
Remember that?
Wait, say that again, sorry.
Sorry, trapper keepers. Maybe that's an 80s or 90s term, but that's what we call
Maybe.
the binders. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the binders, like I was very big on getting the loose leaf paper, and then I need my dividers because this section is for
Yes,
homework, this section is
exactly.
for classwork, this section is for free write.
Wow.
Like I was very much that person, and I preferred binders in high school. Whereas in college, I liked notebooks that come
Yeah.
with like the 5-star notebooks, the 5-star.
The 5 book, yeah, in one
Yeah,
combination.
they
Love that.
solved all those issues for me. But yeah,
Mhm.
organization was a need
Yes.
that I felt myself have. I just feel much calmer when things are where they're supposed to be.
I have to agree. And for me, when I was going to school in the 90s, the
Right.
binders had this flap over, so it would close and kind of lock everything in. So if you had loose papers in there, it would lock it
Okay.
in, which was essential for me, right? Like my dividers, but not everything's going to be, and the dividers with pockets so you could just stick stuff in.
Right. 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 Right.
And
Yeah.
I kind of fell prey to the whole Lisa Frank rainbow unicorn
Of
trend as well.
course.
So I'm Kylie. There's no surprise here.
The apple. Where is it? Not far. Not far from the tree.
No, not far, not far.
Yeah. I remember there's also these like portfolio things, that I got
Yeah,
into later on, and I would again label each section by whatever subject it was. So
I'm so
there's
impressed,
math,
you Mary.
English, science.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only looking back again, and at the time, it just felt natural. I look back and I'm like, did you have nothing else to do, or you were just organizing every little thing in your life all day long? So yeah.
That's a good trait to have. I don't know, man.
I guess I try to keep it up,
Yeah.
but listen, Keisha. Oh, hold on. We have a comment. Here we go.
Ooh,
James says, "I like to get a new lunchbox for back to school."
there you
Very
go.
important, James. Very
Mhm.
important. I always bought lunch at the school, so the lunchbox wasn't the biggest thing for me. But I think today I would appreciate a lunchbox way more than I
One
ever
of those
could have.
bento boxes. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Way
Yeah.
more than I ever did. The what did they say? The youth is wasted on the young, or something because I
That's
didn't
funny.
ever. Yeah. Nowadays, please give me a good lunchbox. I will use the heck out of it for sure.
I have to echo James. Yeah, definitely in like elementary school, lunch boxes were the flex. They were the
Oh
flex
yeah. Oh yeah.
because it wasn't just a lunch box. You had to have the latest character lunch box, like,
Naturally.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever it happened to be. Rainbow
Mhm.
Bright. I'm really dating myself here.
No worries. I'm
But
following. I'm
yeah,
following.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, to all of our lovely listeners and viewers, if you are loving this conversation as well, then you can download our latest research reports, including the back to school report at jll.com. Just go to the trends and insights section. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up the banner. There it is. Latest research reports at jll.com. If you go to the trends and insights section, they're all right there. Just search for retail, and all of our latest reports, including the back to school report, our quarterly reports, grocery reports, all of that stuff is there. And in addition, we also have the Where We Buy podcast, where James conducts in-depth audio interviews, and you can find, and they're very informative, always super topical, and he speaks with some of the most amazing people in the industry about some of the most pressing topics. So you literally, you can't wait. You need to go listen to it today. Okay, if you're watching this, go right over to your favorite podcast app, or go to wherewebuy.show, and you can find all of that there as well.
Also, you can hit the subscribe button in YouTube and you can click on the bell icon so you're notified when new shows come up. Or follow the JLL retail page on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. There it is. There we go. We will be back next week with a new episode on Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. And then once again, you can find that at everythingweknow.show or on the JLO Retail LinkedIn page. So, in summation, Keisha, what did we learn today about retail?
Inflation is big, man. Consumers are going to get creative, making sure that they can save money and get all the stuff that they really need.
Absolutely. And I learned that unicorns are in the past and we're on mermaids now. Okay. So
That's
attention,
correct.
everyone. We're
Yes,
on
yes.
mermaids. We're in the ocean with
Mermaids.
it.
Yeah.
And if you all want to learn more about whether fairies are next or whatever the next trend is going to be about retail, you can join us here next week.
Sounds great.